as Kelvin Kiplangat, also known as Elvis Chepkosa, sat by the roadside along Mombasa Road on November 5th, 2024, recording a TikTok video. He looked calm and confident, like a man who had finally made it. At just 31 years old, Kelvin had achieved what many others only dream about. He was living like a king, driving luxury cars, wearing expensive clothes, and most impressively, he had just finished building a huge mansion, fully paid for in cash, no mortgage, no loans, just pure money power. But what people didn't know was that Kevin's success had a dark side. His money didn't come from hard work or business. It came from one of the most dangerous and illegal tricks in the digital world: SIM swap fraud. He had managed to steal millions from innocent Kenyans by hacking into their mobile numbers and draining their bank accounts. He was smart, calculated, and extremely bold, which made him one of the most feared scammers in the country. Coming from a small, unknown village called Chepkosa in Chepalungu, Kelvin was once just another school dropout with no clear future. But his life changed fast. In no time, he became so popular and powerful that almost every Kalenjin artist was mentioning his name in songs, thanking him for supporting their careers. However, Kevin also knew that this kind of life couldn't last forever. He was always watching his back, and on one particular day, his fears became real. While traveling in a hard black Prado TX with a friend, unknown men who had been secretly following them suddenly opened fire, forcing them to stop the car. The attackers quickly pulled both them out and kidnapped them right there. And just like that, Kevin vanished. Until today, no one knows where he went, who took him, or what happened next. Some people believe he was taken out by fellow scammers. Others think it was payback from people who he stole from. Whatever the case, his story became one of Kenya's most chilling digital crime mysteries. This is the story of the Mulot gang, the SIM swap legends who rose from nothing, made millions, and disappeared without a trace. Before we dive deeper, please like this video and subscribe to the channel. I'm Mike Hindi, and you, yes you're awesome. Elvis Chepkosa was just a regular young man from the quiet rural town of Chepkosa in Chepalungu. He was born there, raised there, and even went to school like every other kid in the village until Form 2, when he made the decision to drop out. For most of his early life, there was nothing unusual about him. He wasn't rich, he wasn't a troublemaker, and he didn't stand out much. Life in the village was slow and simple. With no formal education and very few job opportunities, Elvis stayed home to help his father. He spent his days digging on their small piece of land, planting crops, and herding their cows. It was hard work, but it kept him going. These small responsibilities helped him survive and slowly transition from a teenager to a young adult. But deep down, Elvis knew something important. This wasn't enough. He couldn't keep depending on his father's land forever. He wanted more. So, like many young people in his situation, he decided to look for a job. Eventually, he found one in Sigor town. It wasn't glamorous, just a basic M-Pesa agent job, but it was something, and that mattered. His lack of education closed many doors, but this one opened at just the right time. What Elvis didn't know, however, was that this job would completely change his life. In 2014, while working behind that simple mobile money counter, he met a man, and that man will take him down a path that would make him rich, feared, and eventually vanish. The man who changed everything for Elvis Chepkosa was none other than Hilary Matindwet, also known on the streets as David Mutai. Now, David wasn't your average guy. He was a seasoned con artist, a man who had already done time in Naivasha Maximum Prison for impersonating people and pulling off scams. On the day they met, David had just walked into Elvis's M-Pesa shop to withdraw a suspiciously large amount of money from what turned out to be a recent heist. It didn't take long for the two to click. They became friends fast, and not because of common hobbies or small talk. Elvis was curious. He noticed that David kept withdrawing huge amounts of cash and he wanted in. He begged David to teach him the game, to show him how he was making all that money. That single request will set the stage for what will become Kenya's most dangerous SIM swap syndicate, the Mulot gang. David agreed to take Elvis under his wing. He taught him something called vishing, basically voice phishing. The trick was simple but effective. They would call unsuspecting people while pretending to be agents from Safaricom, Airtel, or even banks, name it. The goal: to manipulate the victim into giving away their personal details, things like ID numbers, PINs, or even full account credentials. Once they had that, it was game over. They could steal your money, access your information, and in some cases, even assume your identity. The wildest part, David had learned all of this behind bars. Prison wasn't just a punishment for him. Oh no, it was a school. When he got out in 2013, he wasted no time. Kenya was still new to mobile money and many people didn't really understand how digital systems worked. That made the perfect targets. Now, with a hungry protege by his side, David and Elvis didn't hold back. Together, they went on a full-blown fraud rampage, and what started as a small con between two men would explode into a multi-million shilling empire of cybercrime. It didn't take long before victims started noticing. People were showing up at police stations, confused, frustrated, or broke, asking how money was vanishing from their mobile wallets without a trace. Others took to social media, trying to warn others or get answers, but while the victims cried, Elvis was living his best life. The scam was paying off and he wasn't shy about enjoying it. At just 22 years old, Elvis built himself a 3-bedroom house back in his village. No loans, no mortgage, just straight cash. That raised eyebrows, but that was only the beginning. He bought a motorcycle and filled his closet with designer clothes. Instantly, he became the center of attention. Women loved him, guys wanted to be him, and local artists, they wanted him in their crew. Why? Because when Elvis showed up, the drinks were guaranteed to flow. One artist even said having him around was like having an open bar on standby. Yeah, imagine. And then things got even crazier. Elvis decided to start teaching. Yep. He opened his own little school of SIM swap right from his house. His logic: the money was too much to eat alone. He wanted a whole gang, and that's how the Mulot gang officially came to life. One of his first students, his best friend, Dominic Kipngeno, better known as Hilarious Muge. Now, if Elvis was the quiet type of who kept his moves on the low, Dominic was the complete opposite. He loved to flex, new clothes, new phones, endless parties. To him, there was no point in getting rich if you weren't going to show it off. And honestly, with all the money rolling in, who could blame him? They drank the finest liquor, they wore the most expensive clothes and drove flashy cars that turned heads everywhere they went. Life was good for the Mulot boys, and with the fame came attention, lots of it. Elvis Chepkosa wasn't just a village superstar anymore. His name was being dropped in Kalenjin songs, and just like an influencer soaking up the limelight, he started leaning into it. He began to dream bigger, not just scams and designer clothes, but politics. By 2022, Elvis's mentor, the mastermind himself, David Mutai, decided to try his luck in politics. He went after an MCA seat. First, he tried the UDA party ticket, the popular one. He lost. So, like any hustler, he jumped ship and moved to the United Democratic Party, the UDP. But while he was busy chasing votes, the Mulot gang was still chasing money. and they didn't care who their victims was. In January 2022, they pulled off what they thought was just another smooth operation. They targeted a senior police boss, Officer Kipario Lakeng, and drained 597,000 Kenya shillings from his account. Classic SIM swap. They had one of the gang members pose as a mobile customer care agent. They called the OCPD repeatedly on January 4th and 5th using a private number, asking him to authorize a SIM swap. Shockingly, it worked. The officer gave up his details without suspecting a thing. Using that info, the gang cloned his SIM, accessed his bank, and moved the cash to lines registered under 2 mobile service providers. But this was the moment they messed up. The gang was already a whispered name in the underworld, people suspecting something, but nothing concrete and ever struck. That changed when a member of parliament from Rift Valley came forward. While he was abroad on official duty, his account with over 941,000 Kenya shillings was completely wiped clean. The trial, it led straight back to Mulot. Suddenly, everything clicked for law enforcement. Patterns began to emerge, and as investigators dug deeper, they found more dirt. Like how back in 2006, the same suspect, David, had conned a former sports official out of 400,000 Kenya shillings. Then again, in 2008, he was accused of stealing 200,000 Kenya shillings from a former permanent secretary. The house of cards was finally starting to collapse. December 30th, 2022, the day the empire started to crack, David Mutai, the so-called boss of the Mulot gang, was finally cornered in Kericho town. In his pockets, 8 SIM cards. Classic. The police took him, questioned him, then handed him over to the DCI for the big boys to step in. He denied everything, of course, sat in court in Kiambu and shrugged off the fraud charges like it was just bad PR, and somehow, just like that, he walked away with a cash bill of 300,000 Kenya shillings. But the police, they weren't done yet. Soon after, 2 of his trusted lieutenants were also picked up. Kelvin Kiplangat, aka Elvis, 31 years of age. Ivan Kiprotich Chirchir, aka Protio, 22 years of age. They were arrested in Mulot and Chepalungu under robbery with violence charges. This was serious, yet again they were released. But freedom this time came with a price. Because a few months later, they vanished, abducted, gone, just like that. No one saw who took them, no ransom call, no clues, nothing. Their parents came out publicly, heartbroken, desperate and pleading, tunajua wako na makosa, wafungwe, wasiuawe. We know they made mistakes, jail them, but don't kill them. But deep down, even the families knew. This life, this image, it has no happy endings. They knew the risks and they chose to live and die with them. In the end, the rise and fall of Kelvin Kiplangat, aka Elvis Chepkosa, and the entire Mulot gang plays out like a Kenyan version of Narcos, a story of ambition, fast money, betrayal, and disappearance. What started as a simple M-Pesa job turned into one of the most sophisticated SIM swap syndicates in East Africa. These guys weren't just stealing airtime. They were cleaning out bank accounts, conning police bosses, and even getting songs made about them. But greed has a price, and the streets, they never forget. To this day, Elvis and Protio remain missing, no arrests, no closure, just silence. Their story serves as a chilling reminder in the world of cybercrime. You might live like a king, but you die in the dark. I'm Micah Hindi, and this was another deep dive. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and help us get to 20k subscribers by the end of the year. And always remember, fast money comes with slow consequences. Stay smart, stay safe, and as always, stay hydrated. Nairobi Insight.